In this video, we're going to cover the popular technique of compositing words into photos. Except in this video, we're going to show you how to draw the words by hand, digitize them, and then composite them into your photo so it has your own unique touch from start to finish. If you aren't confident in your own handwriting skills, we've made our example available for download in the description below, and you can practice compositing with it. Let's get started. Pick the photo you want to use. Look for fore or mid-ground elements you can use to composite your text behind. Photos that aren't busy usually work best. If you have a foreground subject, make sure your subject doesn't take up more than 25% of your photo so it won't cover up too much of the text. You can use any regular old pen, a calligraphy pen, a brush pen, a nib pen if you have it, or any kind of Sharpie, and any white piece of paper will do. If you don't know anything about calligraphy, we've linked a guide sheet in the description to help you get started. Since most of you will probably be using a Sharpie, that's what I'll be using today as well. Choose a word that has mass appeal like wander or pumpkin spice. As a rule of thumb, downstrokes are thicker than upstrokes, and if you're using a Sharpie, both strokes will have the same weight. In this case, go back in and add thickness to all the downstrokes. Keep your letters evenly spaced. If you need additional help, download the free practice sheet in our resources link in the description. You'll just have to do a little extra cleanup in Photoshop to remove the lines. Now you want to get your handwritten masterpiece to your computer. You can use a scanner, take a photo of it with your phone, or we recommend using a free app called Scannable. Either way, get it onto your computer. Now open it up in Photoshop. In Photoshop, crop the scan and clean up any dust or miscellaneous marks with a white paintbrush. I'm also going to erase this rat tail because, ew. Next, I'll save it as a PNG. Drop your image into Illustrator. Click the Image Trace button. Then, click Expand. Next, use the Direct Selection tool, which is A on your keyboard. Click your background, then press Delete. Go ahead and do the same for inside any letters that have a white fill. With the Direct Selection tool, click your first letter. Now, select the Pen tool, which is P on your keyboard. We want to clean these letters up a bit. With the Pen tool, you can click on any point to remove it. Removing points will help smooth out the lines, so look for points that are inconsistent with the shape of your letter and get rid of them. You can also adjust individual points and their Bezier handles. Just use the Direct Selection tool to click on the point you want to adjust. You can then move its position and adjust the handles to dictate the curvature of your lines. We try to find a balance between digital perfection and humanness, so use your best judgment. It helps to zoom out sometimes to get a better perspective of how the overall letters are looking. This is a tedious process, but when you're done, you'll have your handwritten text completely vectorized, meaning you can scale it as large as you want without any loss in quality. Oh, and last but not least, I'll move this W a little closer to the rest of the letters. Then save all your hard work as an Illustrator file. To get it back into Photoshop, you can save it as an EPS file if you need to do a lot of resizing, but for our purposes, I'll just export it as a PNG. Open the photo you want to work with and drop your EPS or PNG file onto your photo. Scale and position your handwritten word however you'd like. I usually have an idea of what elements I want to mask in front of my text, so I scale and position the word accordingly. Drag your photo to the new layer icon to duplicate it. Then drag the duplicate layer above your handwriting layer. Now click the layer mask icon on your background copy layer. Fill the layer mask with black. There's a myriad of ways to mask in Photoshop, so for this example, I'm just going to use the Quick Selection tool to select my head and then hide the text to make sure my mask looks good. Now I'll click Select and Mask and make subtle refinements. I'll select Decontaminate Colors and make sure my Output To option is set to New Layer with Layer Mask, then click OK. Once we're happy with that, I'll make a selection on this background ridge that I want to be masked in front of my text. And then hit Shift Backspace and make sure the contents is set to white with 100% opacity. Just a little touch up and it should be good. To change the color of the text, I'll create a new layer and place it right above my text layer. Then fill in the layer with any color you want. I'll choose white. Right-click this layer and select Create Clipping Mask. I'll also adjust the opacity of my text. In this case, around 60% works well. Finally, I'll create one more new layer for a shadow. You don't have to do this, but when done subtly, it works really well to blend the composite a little better. Place the shadow layer between your text and your masked objects. I'll choose an off-black paintbrush color and make the brush on the larger side with a hardness of 0. Just a few clicks should do the trick. If your shadow spills out from behind your mask, just use a white paintbrush to paint your layer mask until it covers the entire shadow. Lower the opacity of your shadow layer so it doesn't look too over the top. When you're all finished, save it with a width of 1080 pixels and post that ish to Instagram so you can get those crispy likes. Or print it off and put it on your fridge because social media is awful and we're all gonna die someday. Recap. Choose the right photo, nothing too busy. Write out your word, making sure your downstrokes have a heavier weight than your upstrokes. Scan your work to digitize it. Clean up your work in Photoshop. Use Illustrator to vectorize your work, striking a balance between digital and your own unique touch. Bring the photo into Photoshop and composite it behind your foreground elements.
Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And for those of you waiting for a photo critique, stick around for a big announcement coming soon. We'll see you next week. Wait. Just say it. Do you want to do a thing?
Say we'll see you next week.
Okay. We'll see you next week. Good?
I guess.